If you're thinking about becoming a residential or commercial loan officer in 2025, then you're watching the right video. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Zevi. I'm an owner of a mortgage shop in Los Angeles. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I talked to a lot of you guys. The thing is, 2025 looks a little bit different than a few years ago. And I want to make sure that you're coming into this with the right tools and the right skill to be able to monetize. Because at the end of the day, the only reason you're transitioning into wanting to or exploring becoming a loan officer is because you want to make more money, right? The first question you're going to ask is, Zevi, can I still make a decent living as a loan officer? And that's a two-part question, because people that are just looking for a side hustle, nothing more, very transactional, one or two deals and they're out like everything else, bouncing from one thing to the next. I'm going to say, honestly, don't waste your time, because it takes time to build a skill and to actually have people that when they associate themselves with mortgage or insurance or anything else on a professional level, they actually think of you. And that doesn't take a day, that takes some time, right? And it involves a lot of different things like skill and marketing and relationships. And so the first question you have to ask is, are you willing to do that? And the second part is, while doing that, you got to make sure that you have some kind of a stream of income coming in. So don't quit your day job. I've developed two academies at this time: the part-time residential lender academy and the part-time commercial lender academy. And if you're interested in learning more about either one of those, there is a link available to you in the description of this video. And the reason I called it part-time is because, like I mentioned, everything takes building up to. And when you're able to put together these transactions, ultimately you're able to make some very lucrative commissions. But like I said, it does take time and you got to give yourself that opportunity. Now, that being said, 2025 is a little bit different. You have to understand what people need so you're able to earn a commission. Now, if you're coming in as a residential loan officer, most of the business today is structured around purchases. So you gotta be open and willing to want to build relationships with real estate agents who control that market, right? That's one part of it. And so by reaching out and building those relationships, having those meetings, there's a much higher likelihood that somebody would give you an opportunity to do that type of a transaction. And I gotta tell you that just being able to size up somebody with their tax returns today is probably not going to be enough to give you the type of income that you need. Again, the reason we're having this conversation is because there's more than one facet. Okay, let's back up a few years, 2020 to 2022, right? So those are tax return years. Rates are 2 or 3%. Everyone's chasing the lowest rate, trying to lock up their mortgages for the next 30 years. That's a different type of an environment than where we're in today. Now, what you see today is just slightly different, because there is really not a whole lot of refinance business. It's mostly purchases, and that's perfectly okay. But again, who's doing those purchases? Well, if you're looking at first time, like home buyers, this and that, I wouldn't say that that's the majority of the business. You have a lot of investors trying to come into the market. And think about this for a second. If you have an investor trying to buy real estate, most of the time they're going to be self-employed, or a lot of the time they're going to be self-employed, which means that you're coming into the business. Zevi, I'm excited. I got the whole NMLS thing, great. But outside of being able to size up tax returns, you got to be able to understand the non-QM market, meaning people that are self-employed and need to be qualified using alternative documentation, alternative income, things like bank statements and profit and loss statements, things like that. And the reason, again, I'm telling you this is because the end goal is the income, right? I mean, initially we come in and we want to learn and the whole 9 yards, but we want to earn a living. That's what we're doing here. And so what I'm trying to say is that we're going to have that purchase market and you can go after it, and you should. But the majority of the buyers, if they're going to be investors, you got to be able to tailor your services not only to people who use tax returns, but people who don't use tax returns. All right. And that is something very, very important. And it's going to help you leverage being able to make more money in 2025 as a residential loan officer. So that is number one. And that's very important to point. Okay. So that was our first point, being able to not only understand the general framework framework of agency or QM lending, right? Conventional mortgages, but non-conventional mortgages for the investors that are trying to come into the market, do all these transactions simply because you want to be able to earn a paycheck. Now, let's take a step back. If I know that there's very little refinances going on today, for obvious reasons, right? Because like 3-4 years ago, we had mortgages that were 2-3%. People locked them up for 30 years. So realistically, I'm not going to have a lot of refinance business, which is interesting because when the business is standardized, you have literally like 70% refis, 30% purchases. Today is like 90% purchases, maybe 85% purchases. Pretty crazy. It will change, and it gives you that opportunity to come into the market and develop the skill set. Again, if you're wondering, Zevi, how do I do this? Check out the links in the description. Part-time Residential Academy, Part-time Commercial Lender Academy, both available. You're welcome to check them out. All right. Now let's talk about that whole refi situation for a market, because it's very important that you understand how you're going to be making money. If people locked up their mortgages for 30 years, right? That's phenomenal for them, but there's a problem. The big problem is no matter how much this house is worth, it's stuck, because now I have a 2% or a 3% mortgage and I got a ton of equity. I can get my equity out. So naturally, people go to the bank if they're W-2 wage earners and they can qualify to get a home equity line of credit. And that's typically a free product, just so you know, for somebody who walks into the local bank, up to like $500,000. So how do you make money doing this? Well, what happens to people who don't have W-2s? Those people we were just talking about, those self-employed investors, they have all these properties, they're stuck. They wrote off all of their income. Same type of a situation. You're able to come in and give them a second mortgage behind that 30-year fix. And most of these mortgages, depending on which part of the country you're in, could range from 100 to 500,000. But the thing is, if you're able to put 2 points on a deal like this, you're still making really good money. And it's almost like a layup for somebody who's going to be doing a refinance in the future. It's literally a built-in client. And all you have to do is, once you do a really good job for this individual, just stay in front of them, whether it's, you reaching out periodically or having them on your drip campaign, putting out some relevant information so they constantly know that if something comes up, they're going to reach back out to you. Another way that you're going to be able to get paid in 2025, there's 3 other things that I want to discuss with you guys. There is a whole market out there for something called DSCR mortgages. And to be honest with you, these are investment type deals, and you can structure financing for these like in, I think, 3/4 of the country without even having a license. It's pretty crazy. And the funny thing is, to do this type of a deal, you don't even need a job. You literally only need income coming from the property, from the rental property. For the investor, you're able to put in anywhere between 1 to 2% origination fee on something like this and still earn a great commission. All right. So for the investors that you're going to be servicing literally across America, you're able to do these type of deals, put on a 1 or 2% commission, and bam, 2025, you're able to earn money outside of just typical tax return deals. All right. 2 more things I want to discuss, guys. I hope you're getting some good feedback. If you are, please hit the like button. I'll tell you why, because it really helps Google push the video to relevant viewers like you who are trying to capture this information. I want to talk to you about 2 other things. Okay, 2 more ways that you can monetize as a mortgage loan officer in 2025. Now, mind you, private money, nobody talks about it, but it's out there and it's so lucrative. Literally, most of the people that have just focused on brokering private money deals have literally made more money than me over the years, like pretty consistently. And so I know we're all thinking, oh, NMLS, X, Y, and Z, let's go the tough route. You don't know what's available. So this is why I'm sharing this with you. What is private money? Let's talk about it. It's exactly the same thing as hard money. So when somebody wants to buy a piece of property and there's like 5 other buyers and they don't want to compete with, having to get a loan that could take 30 days or more, then they might tell the seller, hey, you know what? I'll just bite the bullet and I'll get a hard money loan from either a private individual, deed of trust investor. These are people that like investing their money in mortgage mortgages. They get a great return because these are all structured for investment properties. So they typically get anywhere between 10 to 12%, sometimes as high as 15, depending on what it is. It's crazy. And so for the right investment opportunity, this makes perfect sense for an investor. And so if somebody is willing to take a hard money loan, then honestly, you might be able to broker these across America. Again, a lot of states don't even require a license for this. And the only license you actually need for states that do require a license are like California, a real estate license under a broker, which would be equivalent to a real estate agent. Literally the same structure, right? So if I go and I want to work at like a Sotheby's or Berkshire Hathaway or Century 21, any one of those, all I really need is a real estate license under the broker. The broker is the Century 21, is the Sotheby's. So instead of that being the broker, it would have to be a loan shop that's the broker and you're the associate. And that's it. And you can broker hard money loans. And I can, give a whole video about how this works. But just so you understand the logistics behind it, that opportunity is completely there. So now maybe your wheels are turning and you're thinking, there's a lot of opportunity here to be able to do this part-time. A lot more knowledge that I need to inject into, this whole thing than I actually thought possible. I did not know that all this existed at one point when I started off. I was even managing retail level banks, the lending division for them, and I was the loan officer, and I didn't even know most of the stuff existed because no one ever introduced it to me. And the funny thing is I made very little money on the institutional banking side, whereas once I started putting these deals together, there was so much more money to be made. All right, now I want to talk about the last opportunity that you should learn about. Hope you're enjoying this. Okay guys, this is my favorite one, and I think a lot of you guys know this if you've been watching my videos, and it's commercial loans. Now, I've already funded a few commercial loans this month. I literally just funded a residential deal today, and I gotta tell you that the amount of effort that the residential deal required, as opposed to the two other commercial deals that I closed, was literally a 2-to-1. Meaning like the residential was 2-to-1 harder than putting together the commercial transactions. Now you might be sitting there scratching your head thinking, how's that possible? It is. And the funny thing is, according to ChatGPT, 44 states out of the 50 don't even require you to have a license to be able to put together commercial lending. So outside of NMLS, you could literally just originate under an LLC and you're in business. The only thing that you are missing, of course, is the skill to be able to put it together. And that's again why I've developed the academies, so you're able to do that. But once you capture the knowledge, the opportunity is incredible and does not require you to quit your full-time job, which is the key. All right. So commercial loans, you could do these across the nation once you build the skill and you understand how they work. The reason why I love them is because one, they are typically significantly bigger. And so the opportunity to earn a larger commission, spending a lot less time with a borrower because you have a lot more support. And you might not understand that now, but in the academy, I cover all of that. And it's quite easy and a lot more black and white. Oftentimes when deals get approved, there's a lot less conditions. And so there is opportunities nationwide to work on. The majority of the deals that I work on is helping mom and pop shops, which are owner user transactions, locate a facility for their business. It's huge. And there's clearly no shortage of that because that's basically the majority of the businesses that you see. All right. They're not all corporate. Of course, you have apartment buildings, retail centers, hospitality, healthcare facilities. God, it goes on forever. And just like you're able to broker for the residential, the private money, the hard money, it's exactly the same for commercial, literally the same drill. All right. So I don't want to drag the video, but I just wanted to touch on those things because if you're just coming into mortgage now thinking, okay, Zevi, exciting, I'm getting my NMLS license, I'm going to go figure out, the one path that I've always envisioned and understanding, the tax returns and how that works, which is phenomenal. It's a big puzzle and understanding it is incredible. It's a phenomenal foundation to set in lending. But what I want you to understand is that you're only covering like less than half of the pie, not even like a third, maybe a quarter, because you have, the conventional agency loans and then you have the whole non-QM loans, which is the alternative documentation, whether you're sizing it up for somebody in first position or second position. Then you have the other 25%, which is the private money sector that you can do for residential and commercial. And then you have commercial lending, which we just discussed, and it's huge. All right. If you have any questions, please drop me a comment. I'll be happy to answer it for you, whatever it may be. And if you want to learn more about either residential or commercial lending, check out the link in the description to the Part-Time Residential Lender Academy, Part-Time Commercial Lender Academy. I gotta tell you this. I just finished putting together, depending on when you're watching this, the Part-Time Residential Lender Academy. So at this time, I'm literally still filming the modules, but the course is complete and it's posted. And so if you do end up wanting to learn more about it and actually, getting the course, you would actually get it for a significant discount until the launch time. There's a code there. It should be pre-launch. That's the code. If you put that in there, you'll get like a massive discount. All right. Other than that, if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up so other people like you can find this information. If you want to see more videos like this from Zevi, myself, then please subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Good luck with anything that you do. And I hope to see you on my next video. Take care.